Hey everyone, so May is here, and while summer is just a few weeks away, the summer movie season starts now. As is tradition, the first weekend in May kicks off the summer movie season that's filled with big blockbusters, sequels, reboots, animated films, and the occasional original film. Yes, they still do exist. This season is shaping up to be more of the same, so let's get to it. I picked a good selection of the most important movies coming out this summer and wanted to play a guessing game. Part of the fun for me is to predict how much these movies will make, as some can be a surprise hit or a bomb. I actually take part in a fantasy box office for the summer movie season hosted by the United Attack podcast. Think of it like fantasy football. While that league only counts domestic box office, I will be making predictions here for both the domestic and the worldwide gross of the movie. I will name a movie, give a prediction, and give you a few reasons why I came to that number. The movies will be not sorted by release date, but by the chances of making a profit. So the groups are obvious, probably, maybe, and flop. Now there's no official way to know if a movie is successful or not between the film's budget, marketing, TV rights, Blu-ray sales, digital sales. So for here, I'm going to use the rule that the movie has to make double what the budget is if it's released, because marketing, we don't know how much they spend on marketing, just usually what the budget is. So for example, if a movie's box office is $50 million worldwide and the budget was $50 million, that's a flop. So without further ado, let's start off with the most obvious movies that will be a hit. The first obvious movie that's kicking off the summer that will be a massive hit is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It kicks off the summer movie season. The first one made over $770 million worldwide, and it was a surprise hit to make that much. While recording this, the first international weekend numbers came in at around $100 million, which is a bit lower than expected. Taking this into account, I will say the domestic will be at $390 million domestic and $925 million worldwide, just a little bit under $1 billion that I was thinking it would get, but considering the weekend numbers now, I'm lowering it a little bit, but still obviously a massive hit. The next one that's obviously a massive hit, you either love it or you hate it, Transformers: The Last Knight. It is critics proof, as people see them anyway. The last two have made over $1 billion. However, the domestic gross of the movies have been dropping from the second one to the fourth one. The second one made, I think, over $400 million, to the fourth one just making around around 240, 250. So this does signal a decline in popularity with people for the domestic gross. However, China has been loving the film and is still strong internationally, at least. And I do believe it will pass $1 billion just barely, with China pushing for that. For example, the last one, Age of Extinction, made $320 million in China, and since 2014 there has been a bit of growth in the movie theaters in China, which should help a bit as well. So my guess is $210 million domestic, a little bit down from the fourth one, but still pretty good, and then $1.02 billion for worldwide. The next one come up is Despicable Me 3. Worldwide there was growth of over $800 million for Despicable Me 2, and $1.1 billion for the Minions movie that came out 2 years ago. Since Minions came out 2 years ago, there is some pent-up demand for it. We haven't had any Minions, or grew. Well, I've had Minions for 2 years and grew, I think, for like 3 or 4 years now. Illumination, the studio that makes films, have been making hit after hit. After Minions, last summer they killed it with Secret Life of Pets, and they also did really good as well in the winter season with Sing. So they've been doing hit after hit, really, at least box office wise. I'm going to say $345 million domestic. I do think there is a strong audience still for the Minions, especially with the kids, and $1.1 billion worldwide. Another movie to make an obvious hit is Spider-Man: Homecoming. Last Spider-Man movie was over 3 years ago now, in 2014. There should be definitely some pent-up demand to see a Spider-Man movie from that, especially since the last one wasn't really that good. People are interested also in the new Spider-Man, and is received well, as seen in Civil War. This one is also connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and is featuring Iron Man, which Sony and Marvel have been letting you know in the marketing, and I think that will help push people out to see it more, because you're not just seeing Spider-Man, you're seeing Spider-Man and Iron Man together. So I'm going to say $310 million domestic and $830 million worldwide. And the last movie that I think will be an obvious profit is Annabelle Creation. First one made $256 million worldwide on a $6.5 million budget. While the first Annabelle was not critically well received compared to the other Conjuring movies, the franchise as a whole has been a money maker. I doubt this stops now for some reason. There's no reason to believe that it doesn't make money, so I'm going to go with $85 million domestic and $265 million worldwide, just between the first Annabelle, a bit above the first Annabelle, but below the Conjuring movies. Okay, so for the next category, it is probably. This means these movies will probably make a profit. However, unlike the obvious ones, it is not 100% guaranteed. First one is Baywatch. It stars The Rock and Zac Efron. The Rock equals money. People want to see The Rock in a movie, and it looks like it's going to be a good comedy movie in the vein of like 21, 22 Jump Street. If it gets good reviews and performs like that, it wouldn't be surprising it performs like 21, 22 Jump Street at the box office. So I would say 135 million domestic and 320 million worldwide. The next one is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. It is now the 5th Pirates movie. Box office wise, this franchise is a mixed bag since the second one. Each movie after, the domestic box office has gotten smaller, like Transformers, while the international box office has grown. Also, only the second and the fourth made just over $1 billion, while the third was kinda close. This shouldn't have a sudden drop from the fourth one, but it has been around 6 years since the fourth one on Stranger Tides, so it depends. If there's either going to be a built-up demand to see it, or the love for the franchise has worn off and people just don't care anymore about it. That's the tricky thing with this one, because if it, people still want to see it, then internationally it should push it over $1 billion. However, if people don't want to see it anymore with the other movies coming out, it'll definitely go under $1 billion, could go with maybe as low as 700-800 million. I'm going to go 235 domestic. It will continue the trend of going down domestic like Transformers. However, it will just make it past $1 billion at 1.05 billion worldwide. Wonder Woman, there has been some hype into it. There hasn't really been any female-led superhero movies, so this is one of the first to do it, especially on this big of a scale. Also, from Batman v Superman, many consider Wonder Woman to be one of the few great parts of the movie. However, Pro Box Office is tracking an opening around $80 million, which would be the lowest in the DC extended universe of their movies. I would say it really depends on reviews for the film and how much the holdover will be from Pirates of the Caribbean and how strong The Mummy is, because the DCU movies haven't been, the reviews have been terrible, and I feel at some point, if the reviews are still bad for the upcoming movies, say for this one, maybe Justice League, people won't see it. It obviously affected Batman v Superman. We'll see if it affects Wonder Woman. And if, people don't want to see Pirates, they'll go see this. And if people want to see Mummy, they'll probably see this again. Or if they haven't had a chance to see it, they'll see it. So I'll say 260 million domestic and 720 million worldwide. Next up is Cars 3. While Pixar has had great success with their movies for the most part, especially the last few years, the Cars franchise are some of the lowest ones, at least domestically, box office wise. However, the trailers have had a positive impact with the people so far, and if they can actually make a better film than Cars 2, which is not hard to do, then look for parents to take their kids, along with young adults who grew up with, say, the first one at least, want to go back and see it. Think of Finding Dory last year, and will most likely definitely be The Incredibles 2 next summer. For Disney, this is not an issue, however, even if it disappoints at the box office. The main reason Cars exist past the first one is merchandising. Merchandising. Shit ton of merchandising. They don't really care. As long as it just makes decent amount of money, they will make shit ton of money on the merchandising, so they're okay with it. I'm going to say it's going to be the highest Cars movie domestically. However, it will do okay worldwide. I'm going to say 310 million domestic and 770 million worldwide. It's right in the middle with, between Captain Underpants beginning of June, and still got 2 weeks before Despicable Me takes all the money for at least animated films. So I'm saying those 2 weeks it gets most of that money, and then after Despicable Me 3, it just inches that way toward the 300 million, 310. The next movie is War for the Planet of the Apes. The new Apes franchise, since it started in 2011, the past 2 films has had an increase in money made at the box office and better reviews, from Planet of the first one to the last one, which Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So it has the same director from the second one as well, so assuming that they continue the trend that the first 2 movies have had, it should still make good money and should be still a really good movie. However, it does face a tough July, releasing right after Spider-Man and before Dunkirk. So I am thinking it will make more overall worldwide, but domestic will take a small hit compared to the second one. I'm saying around $200 million domestic and $740 million worldwide. Next one is Rough Night. It's it's a girls movie, like comedy. Think of like the ones from the last few years of Bad Moms from last year, Trainwreck, and Pitch Perfect 2 from the last couple of years. I expect it to kind of perform similar to that. The reviews won't really matter for that one, I believe. So I'm going to go with a $95 million domestic and $170 million worldwide. The worldwide is a bit low because looking at Bad Moms and Trainwreck, it did really good domestic, but worldwide, not worldwide, but international wise, it was really, really low, especially for Trainwreck. So it looks like for these kind of films that are geared more toward women, for some reason, like a women comedy, it doesn't do well internationally as it does domestic. So I'm taking that into account for this, and that it will make more domestic than internationally. Next up is Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan's latest film since Interstellar. Since The Dark Knight, his movies has not been lower than $180 million domestically and $675 million worldwide. However, the two numbers I just said are for his lowest film since then, which was Interstellar. So we'll see if his name draws the crowd for this movie as well. Since it is a World War II film, we don't really know if there is an interest, still a strong demand for that. However, it's Christopher Nolan's take on one part of the war, so if it gets good reviews, I think people will definitely go out and see it because people do trust his name. They hear Christopher Nolan's like, oh, it should be a pretty good movie because he's given us, Dark Knight, Inception, Interstellar, and Dark Knight Rises. People have different opinions on the last two, but overall, a quality director, so ideally another quality movie from him. So I'm gonna go $190 million domestic and $700 million worldwide. I would give it higher domestic, but I just don't feel as a World War II film it would pass 200 million, and if it does pass 200 million, it's just barely going to pass it. So I'm going to keep a little bit more conservative and stay with the 190. Last up for the category is Atomic Blonde. It looks like to be a good spy action movie with a good cast, led by Charlize Theron, who you might have just seen her in The Fate of the Furious. Also has James McAvoy and John Goodman as well. Comes out the end of July with not a lot of competition in August, which is really good for the film because by that point, a lot of the movies that came out July and June are, running out of theaters. So this gives it time to breathe and, collect some good amount of money. The budget is also apparently around $30 million, obviously not including marketing. So as long as it doesn't completely bomb, even like a $15 million opening weekend, and it can go to say, $50-60 million domestic along with a good international gross, it will make a good profit. So I'm going to say $70 million domestic and $200 million worldwide. So the next category is maybe, and kicking off that category is Alien Covenant. It looks like it's going back to more of the franchise's horror roots compared to the last one, Prometheus. The marketing has been really good so far, making sure it's it's more scary alien film. They're making sure, letting you know that the xenomorph is in it, unlike in Prometheus where it was basically told over and over again that, it's not going to be in it. It's not really connected to the alien movies. This one is saying, look, we're going back to aliens. Here's the xenomorph. Here's people dying. Go see it. However, the release date is not that good. It was in August, which would have been a really great release date for it. However, Fox moved it up to May, middle of May, which is right between Guardians and Pirates of the Caribbean. So it's going to face some tough competition, especially for the 18 and up, the 18 to 24 demographic. It's going to be pretty tough. They got money. I am going to say moving up to May is going to hurt them a little bit. So I'm going to say 130 million domestic and 430 million worldwide. If it stayed in August, it could have, usually movies in August, they have a long staying power since not much comes out. They could have been able, if it's good, to do 140, 150, maybe even 160, but they're moving into May. There's too many movies coming out. It goes down to 130. Next up is Captain Underpants. It's based on a popular book series for kids. However, it was more popular when I was a kid, which was about 10 years ago. They just started now making, I think, a couple new books, but at its peak, it was, early to mid 2000s. Or late 90s as well. It's an animated film, so it will at least make some money. Usually they don't bomb that hard. But the main competition is Cars 3, but that comes out 2 weeks after, so it'll have some time to collect some money. I think the main competition that comes out that weekend is Wonder Woman, so it's not that bad. I'm going to say $80 million domestic and $250 million worldwide. Next up is The Mummy. It has a solid cast led by Tom Cruise and has more of a darker tone than the last Mummy films from the late 90s, early 2000s. However, people might not be interested in thinking it is they might think it is a reboot of the Brendan Fraser films. I've seen a few reactions on Twitter or on Reddit or whenever where they're like, oh, it's a reboot, I don't want to see it, because they think it's a reboot of the Brendan Fraser films, which it's not. Universal is planning to use this film to launch the Monster Cinematic Universe. Yes, another cinematic universe. Basically, all the classic horror films, bringing them back together in the modern era. So this one, you have The Mummy, they're planning Wolfman, they're planning Dracula. They totally didn't try to do this before, not at all, not including Dracula. He's still coming up. I do feel the darker tone will push some kids away, since especially the ones that came before the Brendan Fraser ones, they had more of an adventure tone. This definitely is more like mature, darker tone than an adventurous tone. But I'm going to say 145 million domestic and 480 million worldwide. Next up, for probably the stupidest movie idea yet. Well, maybe, I don't know. The Emoji Movie. The premise is stupid. However, The Boss Baby was a surprise at the box office. If you would have told me the Boss Baby would have made quite a bit of money in March, I would have been shocked. But having that in mind, the Emoji Movie, and especially kids love using the emojis, I wouldn't be surprised if this makes some money. I think an unexpected animated hit could happen, because right now you have Despicable Me 3 and Cars 3 taking all the money for the animated films, and probably Captain Underpants will take a good chunk of that too. However, they'll come out in June. This is the end of July. There's definitely a good amount of space that by come July, August, the kids want to see another movie, they'll go see this one. So I'm going to say $60 million domestic and $260 million worldwide. Last one on the maybe category is the Hitman's Bodyguard. Comes out in a quiet August, which helps, and the trailer did have good reception. If the reviews are positive, there's a good chance of a solid domestic box office return. It just depends on the budget and marketing. We don't really know what the budget is. This could easily be a $30 million budget plus marketing, which would be really good, or it could be 70 or 80, which wouldn't really help it that much. So I'm going to go with $90 million domestic and $310 million worldwide. Now on to the last category, which is the flops. The movies that will not make back their money at the box office, or the ones that will just completely bomb. They will go to the opening weekend and trip and never recover. First up is King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. This one will be a soon-to-be flop probably, as it comes out in 2 weeks. The director Guy Ritchie's only domestic box office hits are the Sherlock Holmes movies from a couple of years ago, and worldwide, if you include worldwide as well, you can include Snatch as well, but that was over 10-15 years ago. His last film, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., was a bit of a flop, bit of a disappointment. I watched it, it was a good movie, but box office wise, it was a bit of a disappointment. The budget is around 100 million, but again, that doesn't include marketing, so we'll need at least 200 million to make a profit, but we don't exactly know how much marketing is and all that. It does, however, have around 2 weeks to make most of its money. Also, the thing is, it is right in May, which again, for May is a really bad time, because you're going to have Guardians of the Galaxy going in first place that weekend it comes out. It's still going to make like $60-70 million. Then the following week you have Alien. So for the male demographic, they've either seen Guardians of the Galaxy and now they're seeing Alien. They might not have money to see your movie. And then you finish up with Baywatch and Pirates of the Caribbean. So it is in a really, really tough spot. I do feel overall worldwide it might make back its money, but at least domestic wise, this is going to be a flop. So $65 million domestic and $340 million worldwide. Baby Driver comes out in a crowded June, again, like Alien, was in August, was in a good position for August, but it is coming out right in the middle of June. Wonder Woman, Cars, Transformers, The Mummy. Edgar Wright is is a great director and stuff, but movies domestically, anyway, even his big ones, The World's End, Hot Fuzz and stuff, they average around $20 to $25 million domestic. They're not big hits here, especially in the June climate with all the movies in June. Look to see about the same amount as well. A profit for this movie would really depend on the international box office, as well as the budget for the film, which we don't really know about. So I'm going to go $35 million domestic and $90 million worldwide. And the last one is Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. The leading stars are not that big. The director, even though they love to say he's a visionary director and all that, hasn't really had a lot of hits. He had a hit a few years ago with Lucy, but really before Lucy, his biggest one was obviously The Fifth Element, and that's about it. The budget is apparently around 197 million euros, translated to $215 million. So it is a very, very big budget film. And if that is accurate, that's also not including marketing. So you're looking at least 350, 400 million to make any profit on this. I'm not saying it won't do money, but it probably won't make money here domestic. It will probably, I think, be the equivalent of Warcraft here from last year, which is it'll do big overseas, but it will not do big here. I'm going to go $45 million domestic and $290 million worldwide. And even with that number, if we're assuming 215 plus marketing, it will actually be a genuine flop, as in it doesn't make back its money and will take a loss. So that's all the movies I've gone through, the ones that I picked for the categories. Just to wrap up now, the top 5 domestic grossing movies for the summer that I've picked in order is Guardians of the Galaxy at number 1, Despicable Me 3 at number 2, Spider-Man Homecoming at number 3, Cars 3 at number 4, and Wonder Woman topping out top 5. The top 5 grossing movies worldwide will be Despicable Me 3, Pirates of the Caribbean, Transformers The Last Night, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and Spider-Man Homecoming. It's a pretty long video, but hopefully my predictions will be somewhat accurate. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I will be making a video at the end of August going through the results more or less of the summer and see how accurate I was. Was I close to being right? Was I exactly right? Or was I completely wrong? And maybe some of the flops will actually be hits. Who knows? Thank you for watching.